Hi there, welcome to the latest important update. New court documents have been released as of yesterday. I'm sharing with you today, focusing in on Petrol, also linked to Napoli, that convenience store that was responsible for handing over alcohol to Jack Newton at the time or around the party back in 2023, and yet Jack was underage but wasn't asked to provide any ID. So when I've talked about it being on a bigger scale, a bigger problem, but that convenience store may have been responsible for giving other underage people alcohol, where there could have been other moments of a Noah Presgrove repeat ever since. Well, the focus is on that with Petrol. I think they're called LLC. I'm going to share with you the documents just very shortly, but we're also going to add on to the wrongful death lawsuit and highlight some key points there, partially to do with Jack, partially to do with the store, and the comments made, which were secondhand passed on by Caleb, the father. Welcome to the live premiere. It's all going to be structured today. I'll give you the order of how we'll do things so you've got an idea. First, we do a little bit of introduction, then we get into the Petrol and the convenience store court documents, on top of the names that I've listed and mentioned, the attorney's name that has been mentioned and revealed too. Then look at the comment section on Facebook, see what the general response and reactions are there. Credit to the case discussion page and anyone else in between that has provided these screenshots and documents and so on. And then add on with anything else in between if need be. And I want to catch up with the comment section of a video that I did a day or two ago to do with the golf clubs, because there's been a few more comments since. I just want to respond back and see if there's any updates or anything else of importance. Take in mind the live stream, what I did last night was also very important. If you haven't caught it yet, you haven't watched it, I'll try and provide it hopefully in the top right corner of the screen. It is a live stream, or it was at the time, so it's in a different section on my channel tab. But top right corner where the I symbol is up there, click on that. You get the drop down menu box with the full playlist of my coverage on the case and some loose videos as well, such as with the live stream and anything else in between. What I did last night, kind of on the spot, shout out to those that were able to watch present. There was like maybe 40 people watching live, which was a big surprise, considering it was a last minute thing, but probably done at the right time. What I will say is last night, basically, it reached a checkpoint where there wasn't really much else to cover. And I was in the process of doing a different video on a different case. But all of a sudden, there's 6 ideas, 5, 6 video ideas, one of which is today. So it's interesting timing, but it was needed. I'm going to keep on going. As well, there's been another big true crime channel which has just recently covered the Noah Presgrove case, nearly 100,000 views, so maybe 100,000 people have been made aware of the case and so on. But, you know, I know there was a comment by Charlie saying about it's good that they're there and covering it and for that awareness. Let's just make one thing very, very clear right now, okay? Whilst I have acknowledged the positives of what it can do, I was more so referring to the smaller creators that are a bit more conscious and maybe a bit more likely to give credit and do research. What I do want to say is, and make sure you're listening in because it's extremely important, it's okay big channels coming in and for the awareness aspect, but is it just to tell the same old regurgitated story, which could have misinformation, which could be outdated? Yes, it's spreading awareness, but awareness in what exactly? To some extent, it's going to do good anyway because of the channel, the audience size, who it can reach to. But if you wanted to, you know, deliver a clear message, because it's not 2023, it's not 2024 anymore, it's 2025, and a few things have changed since. Never seen before text that have been revealed and summarized. Never seen before photos, clips, Snapchats, and timestamps, all provided or at least documented by myself and my channel. All these other bigger creators that come on in for the awareness aspect, it would be good if they showed that additional side to the case, what's come about since. But the reason why they won't is because some of that material is on my channel, and big creators don't like using smaller channels' content or references unless they rip it from you and do not give credit whatsoever. Don't worry, I've got extensive experience. In the Kenny Veach case, I was the catalyst. I was the one-man army up to a certain point, and credit was not given, and other creators and big channels did not do their research on the case, saying the same old regurgitated story and lies as well. People going on about the suicide claim and about the girlfriend reporting Kenny quick. Come on, you look at the hard evidence, the official police report, it was 7 to 8 days later when reported missing. The girlfriend lied, but all the big channels out there say the same old story and don't use the updated material because they don't want to use my content, because they don't want to use some other people's content when it's a small channel. It's as if it's below them. So let's just make that very clear that as good as it is to spread awareness, it would be better to spread awareness as in where things are at right now. And it doesn't take much to give credit to someone. You just provide a link to the channel in the comment section or the description. But a lot of humans have a hard time doing that. Very disappointing. I try to myself, regardless of what channel it is or where it's from. Even when using stock footage or maybe the odd photo, give credit there. It says it's optional, but I'll still try. I guess it's just what separates me from other humans. Beside that, nothing changes here, right? People can come and go. People can arrive, make an impact with weight and noise behind it. I am that type of person to fade into the darkness and be forgotten, but I'm still that person to continue on because my stamina is unparalleled to anybody else. It's in a different league. So the only side effect is with the important stuff that I do cover, because not everybody can be asked to research and YouTube doesn't push the videos out there enough. Some things may go under the radar. 10 years later, a big channel comes on in and makes a whopping big new discovery, which I already covered and documented 10 years earlier. Nothing I can do about it. It's fighting a losing battle. But I thought I'd just give my positives and negative takes on the situation. Because with the positives come the negatives, with the negatives come the positives. Balance. And I'm sure some humans will really twist the words beforehand and think, oh, you think it's a bad idea, people coming on in? There are pros and cons to it. I've already outlined it very clearly. And I know that regular viewers will be able to understand me because we're on the same wavelength, which is a positive. And speaking of which, for those that are watching during this live premiere, share your thoughts, opinions and reactions in the live chat located on the right-hand side of the screen. If you are watching throughout or you get to the end of the video, at any point, be sure to drop a comment down below under the video. It will help with spreading awareness and YouTube pushing the video out there so then more people can learn about the case and reach it that way. And I can always respond back to questions afterwards and comments just like how I will later in today's video to do with a previous one that I've done. So if you've got any questions, any answers, any discussions, scenarios, theories, anything at all, drop a comment down below. You'll also find a pinned message by me with the PayPal link if you want to support my channel, and a channel membership link if you want to become a member. So with that being said, it's time to begin. As it reads, first of all, case update, Noah Presgrove estate civil suit. On July 18th, 2025, attorney Carl J. Buchholz from the law firm Ellis and Buchholz officially filed an entry of appearance on behalf of Val Petrol, LLC, one of the named defendants in the civil case filed by the estate of Noah Nichols in Stephens County, Oklahoma. The filing also includes a certificate of mailing showing copies were sent to the attorneys representing the plaintiff. This filing gives Val Petrol until August 14th, 2025 to respond to the complaint. And when looking at the official documents, as you see there, hopefully it's clear enough, the district court within and for Stephens County, state of Oklahoma, estate of Noah Nichols, plaintiff, versus Avery Joe Howard. I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you can see. Avery Jo Howard, the 22-year-old at the time birthday girl, an individual. Second, Carter Combs, the sister to Avery, another party host. Number 3, Hunter Jack Newton, best friend to Noah Presgrove, but not a host. I do find it interesting because I've not seen that name, Hunter. I guess that's the middle name. 4, Caleb Newton, father to Jack, an individual. 5, Joni, which I believe is supposedly spelt wrong, and if that's the case, that's a bit unprofessional. Trout Wilcoxon Jr. I think that's considered the mother to Stevie Howard, right? Related to Stevie Howard. 6, Stevie Howard, the mother to Carter and Avery. 7, Logan Jernigan, a friend to Avery and Carter and some others. Logan living there at the time, classified as a party host. 8, John/Jane Doe, A to Z, unidentified individuals, more than one. We need to go back over that in a second. And 9, the main focus of today, Val Petrol LLC, a domestic limited liability company. And limited liability company is brought up within the wrongful death lawsuit. So, zooming out just for a second, filed District Court, Stephens County, July 18th, 2025, Melody Harper Court Clerk. So this is very, very recent, hence why it's only just come about now. Entry of appearance comes now. Carl J. Buchholz at the law firm of Ellis and Buchholz, Duncan, Oklahoma, and enter his appearance on behalf of the defendant, Val Petrol LLC, a domestic limited liability company, and further reserves an additional 20 days from the original answer date of July 25th, 2025, or until August 14th, within which to further plead or answer herein. Plead what? Plead guilty, plead responsible for allowing Jack, an underage individual, to buy alcohol from a store chain called Napoli's in... what's it called? Marlow. Always got to be careful there because I said it wrong last time. Marlow, which is interesting. But for those watching, let me know, what do you think number 8 represents? Who could that be? John or Jane Doe, which is default as in unidentified. Could be a male, could be a female, could be one of each, could be multiple individuals, more than one. Why are they unidentified when others have been identified? Are these unidentified party goers that come and went, that aren't familiar faces to everyone else? Are they more strangers to the case, strangers to Noah, strangers to us? Maybe guess down below in the comment section who the John Jane Does could be involved as defendants in the death of Noah Presgrove and the wrongful death lawsuit. Would Jasmine's name come up? Would Brylan, Mikey or Isaac name come up? Anyone really? Or Stephanie Millan's name come up? Let me know what you think. Would Caden Pressey's or Alicia's name come up somehow because of indirect interference in the case? Or causing additional issues? Because I know some people were pushing it that their names are going to be on it somehow, but then other people were saying, well, you can't see the names on it, so they're innocent. Well, it's always that uncertainty when there's other names listed, but they've not been identified, or at least publicly. You never know. You could get a massive shock, right? And moving on to the second page of documents, I don't know if I'll blur out the phone numbers. They are public information, but because of the way YouTube's guidelines are and how they screwed me over previously, I might just cover it up just to be safe. Certificate of mailing, as it was worded just before, and I believe that Facebook post. I hereby certify that on the 18th day of July 2025, I mailed a true and correct copy of the above and foregoing entry of appearance, postage therein prepaid to Austin Vance, Jeremy Otis, Ryan Sailors, all rise, and Andrew Casey, Hendrick, and so on. Attorneys of record for plaintiff, and signed Carl J. Buchholz. The comment section on Michael Facecast's post in regard to those documents, I'll just read them here. Valerie, funny how people are on a Facebook group for Noah but are making these comments, so shows me some worrying what's going on. Which Facebook group And what comments exactly? It's a bit vague. Okay, we've seen this, and so what? Well, we haven't seen this before, Valerie, unless you did the day before, because reality is it was only showed or filed or displayed public as of yesterday. It's the 19th today, it was the 18th yesterday, so it is relevant and new and needs to be documented. Another Michael says, the plumber from Comanche is on there, as in Caleb Newton. Now, why are we referring to Caleb as a plumber? That's his role, that's his job, or it was. And I know some people in the background were saying about maybe his license has run out and what's he doing now. That's background, that's personal stuff unrelated to the case, but some people are trying to tie it together. We do need to bring up Caleb's name, as in how he's been dragged into it, when how it's described on the wrongful death lawsuit doesn't quite make sense. Cindy Carl is representing the defendants, and Michael says no, Val Petrol specifically. Teresa, and they misspelled Wilcoxon. I didn't catch that, but there we go. I mean, is it the end of the world? I mean, when you got like official papers, you could say it doesn't look good when you look back at that wrongful death lawsuit as well and how that was worded and some mistakes made, supposedly. Jamie, corporations, LLCs, and people with deep pockets will delay. I'm so very glad Noah's family got the ball rolling. Right, so we talk about corruption once again. But this is the thing. Let's just make one thing very clear, because it seems a little bit one-sided. So there are supposed claims that defendants and anyone else in the background and those on the dark side that have deep pockets will pay others off to keep quiet, pay others off to bend the direction, cause misdirection, pay other people off from now on to delay tactics. Oh, but aren't we forgetting the Alicia Lee, Caden Pressey situation of phone data, passing it on to the Anne Robin Smith or Noah Presgrove's family in general, text conversations in the background, agreeing that that's what's going to happen on a certain day, on a Wednesday, and you come on down and you take what you need or screenshot, document, and then once you're done, you go and you don't keep bringing it back up. It was agreed upon Alicia to Robin to some extent, and then Alicia afterwards said, I never agreed upon that. That never happened. I never said that was going to happen, but it was agreed upon at some point. The whole promise of Caden Pressey, I'll download my Apple data and then I'll share it public. Not share it to the family of Noah Presgrove, but actually just share it to the general public first, because the public's knowledge of it is more important than the family in the background, the victim's family, which is a contradiction to Caden Pressey's original mentality of telling people that need to know and not telling people that want to know, the gossipers, the general public. It seems like Caden Pressey's mindset and attitude has changed with time, so gone against himself there. I hope people are picking up on this, because this is pretty important to mention as a comparison to what's mentioned here about deep pockets and delaying tactics, because Alicia, from the looks of it, was doing delay tactics with Noah's, the victim's family, when it came to Caden Pressey's phone data, his phone pings to either prove 5:15 was a true time or it wasn't. Okay, Alicia might say it was, Caden may say it was, but what about Noah's family? Have they seen it with their own eyes? No. But at some point, some months ago, Alicia or Caden sent a link over for them to access Caden's phone data, but the link expired. And then there was delays upon delays and false promises. And Caden Pressey's false promises, it says, you have my word, you will have the phone data, the Apple data, once it's downloaded, and I'll make it public. That's a promise, which was documented in the live chat of my live premiere back then in the live chat. Tim Daniel witnessed it. Tim Daniel heard it from Caden's own mouth in text. And did it ever happen? No. So delays and false promises by other people besides the dark side with deep pockets. So it's not just one-sided, Jamie. It does apply elsewhere. Right? Let's make that very clear. Laura, we will see justice for Noah. I remember coming across Laura Dutton in the past. Jennifer, and people with deep pockets will donate. Which way, though? Donate for the cause of Noah or against? I'll post a link for Noah's Family Speak Up shirts. Fair enough. Needs to be shared with the TikTok. People all around the world will buy. As for the clothing and stuff. and they misspelled Wilcoxon. Yes. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the comments there. Now, let's head back to the wrongful death lawsuit and catch up on some key points which I've highlighted. What you see highlighted in red, I've tried outlining it as a box with the arrow pointing to the key points is what we're focusing in on. And this part is actually relevant to today's video and the whole Val Patrol situation and the attorney representing them, LLC. So if I just zoom in here, hopefully it's clear enough. If not, I'll read it to you. It says, Defendant Val Patrol, LLC, Val or Napoli's is a domestic limited liability company with its registered agent in Stephens County that operates Napoli's convenience store as demonstrated in Marlow. And lower down, highlighted once again, upon information and belief, the alcohol provided to Noah Presgrove, the descendant, was purchased by the defendant, best friend to Noah, Jack Newton, at Napoli's convenience store in Marlow, Oklahoma, despite defendant Jack Newton being under the age of 21. That's a major problem, that, isn't it? Whilst you might have host supplying alcohol to underage people, yeah, there's some counterpoints as well by Jack, which we'll get to in a second. This is a bigger issue at hand, that those who should be more responsible, of a more mature age, and with a certain important role and responsibility of asking for ID when people who may look younger than what they are, or just straight up young, asking for ID, whether they then can have the alcohol or not. Because with how reckless they've been, they've allowed Jack to get alcohol and maybe other people in between. And then you see the knock-on effect that has: alcohol, underage people, rules, laws broken and beyond, and possible injury / or death, depending on what happens, because alcohol can be a bad combination and not everybody handles it well or reacts well to it. It has a chain effect and it can impact other people too. Very interesting with Val Patrol, and they've got what, till 14th of August or so. And what happens if they don't respond back? Likely they will, but let's just highlight that no one's really spoken out besides Caleb when it comes to the wrongful death lawsuit in their thoughts or ideas, but maybe they've been advised not to, or maybe they just can't be bothered. It won't do them much good. But Caleb, we've seen what Caleb has already said. And speaking of that, by the People article, Caleb Newton spoke to his own son, and Caleb Newton said, I have no doubt that he, Jack, got his hands on his beer. I mean, I asked Jack and said, son, who bought the alcohol for this party? And Jack said, it's just like every other time that I got together with any of my friends. Everybody brought what they wanted to drink, brought their own stuff. Caleb says nobody supplied for the whole deal or anything goofy like that. Jack did not respond to a request for comment through his father. So if everybody brought their own alcohol, Jack got his own alcohol from, for example, the store in Marlow, Oklahoma, the Napoli convenience store, was able to slip it through and not get asked about age. Now, did any other partygoers buy from Marlow, or in the past when there's been older parties? Is that Napoli convenience store just a good place to get alcohol without being asked many questions compared to other stores which could be more strict, less lenient, as you'd expect and hope for? But it just goes to show that if you're going to punish the party host, in the case, if you're going to punish the likes of Avery, Carter, and specifically Logan, who are the host, for supplying, distributing alcohol, but then you've got a convenience store which has enabled some or one of the partygoers to get the alcohol in the first place, and that convenience store should know better. There's clearly a bigger issue at hand, because when these hosts are punished or taken away, there'll still be other parties going on about and nearby locally, and there could be a store like Napoli or another place which is not asking for ID and giving underage people alcohol, so it doesn't actually stop the issue at hand, and the social hosting laws carry on being broken. Maybe the party host, depending on the age that they are, should know better to some extent, should be punished, or there should be some kind of consequences to some extent. But the convenience store should be focused on more because it's a bigger issue than just one party itself. Let me know if you agree. Now, is there anything else that needs to be highlighted? We've got that one, and then this one, where it's just more so trying to wrap one's head around it to make sense. During the party, defendant Caleb Newton, Jack's father, permitted Noah Presgrove, the descendant, to drive or ride on his all-terrain vehicle whilst intoxicated, which is basically the side-by-side rollover. But the problem is, supposedly that side-by-side is owned by Jack Newton, the son, not the father Caleb. So Caleb has no role in that side-by-side when it's Jack, the one that owns it. As well, from what we've heard by Caden Pressey to an extent, from at least Saturday onwards, Caleb was not at the party whatsoever. Caden said with 100% confidence, Caleb was never there. So if Caleb was never there, how could he permit Noah Presgrove to drive or ride the all-terrain vehicle? Maybe over the phone, like a phone call, but that sounds very far-fetched. Caleb wouldn't need to permit or allow Noah to drive the side-by-side if Caleb doesn't own it. If it belongs to Jack Newton should have the final say as to whether you can borrow it, whether you can use it or not. And from the way the story's gone, Jack was in Carter's bed, sleeping, resting. Noah walked on in to take the keys, basically steal them. Carter, woken up or half asleep anyway, didn't protest much, didn't tell Jack at the time. And that was pretty much it. So, considering there's no hard evidence or proof that Caleb was even at the party, and there's no hard evidence or proof to say Caleb owns that side-by-side, Caleb, for this one reason, shouldn't be included as a defendant on the list on this wrongful death lawsuit, unless there is hard evidence elsewhere to back it up, or unless there is another point to be made, but it wasn't mentioned in this wrongful death lawsuit details, which is, it's not a good look. It looks as if like an act of desperation, just grasping at straws, clutching at certain names which have come up enough, and then just sticking them on the list, and then accusing them of doing things which they didn't do or weren't present to do. And that appears to apply to Caleb. Now, Caden Pressey did say in the past, in a Facebook conversation, that Caleb may have been there early Friday. But if he was, it wasn't on the day of the side-by-side rollover or when giving permission for Noah to ride it. So there's no true link there. Unless there's some other background information, we've just not seen it yet. With letting that sink in, it's now time we move on to the comment section of a previous video of mine, catching up, answering any questions, reacting, and adding with analysis if need be. Start from the bottom. I don't know if people have seen it themselves, but now in some areas in the comments, there's like an AI tool to like generate random replies to people. Just know that I'm not going to do that myself because I respond back manually. I'm not going to allow AI to give robotic responses back to you, the viewer, because then that will be so cold and empty. Sherry did say at the time, the golf clubs and Noah's body, as in, I think it was, my question was, what are the most important pieces of evidence to you? What would you say stands out the most? Noah's body, one, of course, which I do agree with. It can tell a great story. And it's, you know, you've got Noah in your hand and the autopsy and all that, rich with material and data and so on. But the golf clubs, I mean, it may have changed since with the outlook, even with the live stream, what we did last night, and maybe we can add on to that in the future. But to some extent, the golf clubs are interesting because it is a bit of a mystery as to where they ended up, what really happened to them. There's no real absolute hard evidence yet. And because they can be perceived as a weapon, it's got a bit of a dark outlook on them, of course. We got +1, justice for Noah. Of course, Tammy. I believe Jack said Noah had asked him for the keys, but Jack said he didn't remember it. Well, that's interesting, that. I don't remember hearing it worded that way. I just remember it described as in Jack was talking about it, but not from his experience, but from what Carter told him, because Carter was awake at the time to witness Noah getting the keys, and Carter didn't protest much, nor tell Jack in the moment, but told Jack later. So, would it have made a difference, honestly, if the side-by-side rollover never occurred? If Noah never got into it, would he still be alive till this day? What do you think? I think same outcome still. Would Noah have still been encouraged to have a shower and a wash around that time? Maybe. Maybe it could have been a bit later, depending. TJ believes the golf club's most important piece of evidence. Also mentions about burning the evidence. You never know. Depends what items can burn and be destroyed and others which may not. I know in the Dylan Rounds case, you had the psychics, card readers that kept saying that evidence was destroyed and burnt down in a burn barrel. Has that ever come up here? In this case in particular? Not from what I've seen, but there we go. Oh, we got Maria. Hi there. Warlight Raff, I still believe Noah was killed. Fair enough, that's what you believe. Some of the party goers destroyed evidence. If Noah Presgrove's belongings are still missing, I consider that a cover-up or a murder and destroying evidence. And who knows, maybe they hid his phone and we thinking he left his phone behind. I mean, that's a key point to mention, of course. I guess all we could question, and we may not get an answer, is, based on what Caden Pressey says and Jasmine Milan, it was normal for Noah Presgrove to walk away from parties, especially when drunk, because he didn't want to lower the mood. He needed to clear his head and get away, get a breather outside. As normal as that may be, how often did Noah Presgrove walk away from the party house with or without his phone? Did he often leave it behind, or did he normally take it with him? If he normally took it with him, on this one occasion when he didn't, it might be because one particular reason, he could not find it, just like he couldn't find his other shoe. So, is that because someone purposely hid the phone? If anyone hid the phone, could you do touch-based DNA on it? Probably not by now. And you probably couldn't link it back to when someone touched the phone. It could have been at any time at the party if someone was taking a photo on behalf of Noah with Noah's phone. So it's not that easy to trace back there. But still, it's an interesting concept, as in hiding Noah's phone to ensure that he can't call for help if he is by himself, or if he was in danger. If he saw something he wasn't supposed to, it's not like he can pull his phone out for help. Now, if Noah Presgrove had his phone with him, if there was a possible beatdown, if it was a possible murder, would Noah Presgrove's phone have still been handed into police and found, or would that have been a missing item as well? Because if Noah took his phone with him, it probably would have told more of a detailed story, whether that be the phone pings, the phone data, any text messages, convos, any calls made outwards to people at a certain time, whether that could link or counter to the time of Noah's death or an estimate of that. You could get a lot from it, but simply put, Noah did not have his phone with him when he walked away. Whether that be because he didn't need it, because he couldn't find it, because it was stolen, because it was hidden. You let me know if you agree with any of those possibilities with like what Maria is suggesting. It's an interesting point, of course, because this is what the partygoers are saying. It must be lies. Anyhow, it's my opinion. Rest in peace, Noah. I believe the golf clubs are the murder weapon. My opinion. Thanks, Warlight Raff, for the information. Very interesting subject. You're welcome. And look, the way Maria has worded it, how she has, no one should be attacking her, right? It's their opinion. It's what they believe in, right? Simple as. Maria says, you are very welcome. I love to watch your videos. Amazing videos. That's good to know. A person called Lynn says, the more research papers I read on covering up crimes, the more I feel you are correct. And if anyone who spends a few hours reading these papers, they will likely concur. it really kind of spooky seeing it on paper and then comparing this case with that information. I sure didn't want to think it, but man, one cannot just dismiss it as easily as they would like us to. Oh, we got Patricia Ramirez, not seen them for a while. Welcome. I have a hard time believing a teenager would leave his phone behind even if he was drunk, and also his wallet and hat were never found. Makes me think these items were deliberately destroyed to cover up evidence that Noah was murdered. Now, to be honest, there'd be no reason to destroy that evidence if it had been left behind at the party. The only time when evidence needs to be destroyed is if it's used in the death of someone or it's worn on the victim during the death because of touch-based DNA. If Noah left his hat, his sunglasses, his socks, wallet, phone, and anything else behind at the house, Noah is walking away from those items, meaning those items aren't relevant to working out the death of Noah or who could have caused it. Noah is distancing himself from those supposed items, supposedly, meaning the only things left on Noah, like the shorts, mismatched shoes, the necklace, that's what's most important, and really only important because it's on Noah at the time of his death, right? Or so you'd think. If anyone did destroy additional possessions more so that were belonging to Noah but left at the house, there'd be no reason to, there'd be no need unless Noah did have some of those items on him when he did walk away and other people took some of the bits away from Noah and then disposed of them. It depends how you look at it. Yeah, the concept of having a hard time believing teenagers and people nowadays walking away from their phones, hard to believe because most people are glued to their phones nowadays. I mean, the exception would be me because with me being a content creator and I make videos on my phone, not with a camera, not with a computer, you get the idea. It is where it is. There are exceptions. But, if you're at a party, but to be honest, in fairness, when you look at the party footage, okay, phones were used to some capacity, but people were making eye contact and talking to one another, and were kind of happy and joking. They weren't all glued to the phones like zombies. But really, it just comes down to, as normal as it is, as worded by Caden and Jasmine, for Noah to walk away from parties when drunk, how often did Noah walk away with the phone in his hand? Was it often? Was it infrequent? Do we know? Oh no, Justin Roy. They say, I've said this for about 15 months now, and I get attacked all the time for this opinion. I mean, you say you get attacked all the time playing the victim card, Justin. The way you've attacked me and made false claims about me, and you've tried desperately making negative comments about me on the odd other true crime channel out there when I was simply trying to spread awareness and guidance as in the coverage on the case. That is weird, right? Foul play is definitely involved in one way or another. Maybe, maybe not. And Julianne, it is very damning evidence which is Noah's personal belongings are missing tells me it was foul play. Something very highly suspicious had taken place. I guess what we can say is the fact that some of Noah's items may have been returned back to family, but other items have not. Why is there a divide? Why are some items returned back and other items are still missing? Is it because some items were left at the house and that's what is missing, and the items that were found on Noah when he was dead were returned back or collected in? But that doesn't really make sense, because it would make more sense for what Noah was to be wearing on the highway to be missing items and what was left at the house to be returned back to family. And I really hope people pick up on that point. Rewind back 2 minutes now back into the video to listen to that again. My reasoning behind that is what was worn, what was in possession of Noah at the time of his death, and if it links to how he was found on the highway by the truckers and so on, those pieces of items, material, and evidence can be deemed as evidence because it's at the scene and at present of Noah's death that if anything did happen to Noah when he died, he was probably wearing that stuff, even if it was somewhat limited, with the exception of the odd thing maybe being removed or swapped, if you base it down that line. But I said items left at the house, and then Noah walks off and then dies. Well, those items don't follow him. Those items won't get blood splatters. Those items aren't going to gather touch-based DNA because they're left behind. Noah is going off elsewhere, so it's only what's on Noah that matters in the moment and onwards. And in terms of what's been returned or retrieved or handed into police, it would be the phone, which is an exception because that was left behind at the house. No one thought to dispose of that. Is it because people thought, well, it can be tracked and traced and pinged, so it's just going to incriminate one of us if we did try getting rid of it? But something like a sock, a shoe, sunglasses or a hat, well, you can't trace that back the same way, so we can get rid of that easier. But there's no reason to dispose of items if they were left back at the house, because they don't link to Noah's death. They weren't on him during Noah's death, unless there's some backstory which we don't know of. I hope I've got the message across. Glenn, shout out to Glenn once again. Julie, I believe Noah's belongings needs to be given back. He did not leave with them, so they're at the house or in the field. Yeah, and I do agree that they should be returned back if they haven't been already, because, yeah, most part of it, Noah's belongings, and, you know, it is where it is. But it just so happens that those belongings haven't been given back, but there shouldn't be a reason to hold on or hide them because they weren't on Noah when he died from the looks of it, so there's no reason to hide those possessions. The belongings, what were found on Noah at the highway, should have been more likely to have been not there and actually disposed of if it's during the death, right? Because that would have more evidence and DNA upon it. But yet, Noah's body in general, no touch-based DNA. So if Noah Presgrove was moved from one spot to another, it would possibly imply that those responsible were wearing gloves to avoid fingerprints. Seems like it to me. Anyway, if the house was cleaned, someone came across Noah's belongings, why weren't they returned? Since no one has given the lost belongings back, makes me think a cover-up. And all I would say is the fact that Noah's phone that was left at the party was handed in to police, as to who by, I don't know. If Noah's phone that was left at the house can be handed in to police, then why couldn't the same be done for Noah's clothing, his hat, his glasses? It's the same thing. If it's all left behind at the party, why are people picking and choosing what can be handed in to police and what remains a mystery or hidden? Makes no sense. Unless some of Noah's clothing ended up like Jack Newton's, as in, somebody messed with my hat at the party, father, as in Caleb, as in Jack at 5:53, text him. Can you get me a spare hat for when we do the fishing trip? Did that happen with Noah? Did someone mess with Noah's clothing, steal it as a prank or opportunistic behaviour? Are people that desperate to wear someone else's clothing? I don't know. Larry, why was the golf clubs even there in the first place? Were they ever seen? Makes you wonder if they were ever there in the first place. Think about it. Why would a set of golf clubs be at a party? It don't add up. I think that's what Larry meant to say. Ever since there's been a bit more context, supposedly. Let's just see what the responses are. Maria, maybe it was a plan. Who knows? Gibby, other people have stated they hit balls, dirt clods, then rocks. No one doubts that the golf clubs were there. Carl, well, as Caden said, they were driving around, smashing with clubs, having fun and shooting guns at random small animals, which, yeah, is very reckless. As to what day it happened on by Caden, Sunday night, Saturday night, who knows there, because we can't trust the consistencies by people like that. But, the aim of using golf clubs, it was worded in the background, I believe in the live stream last night, that Noah supposedly, or it was Caden and Jack that were into golf, and maybe Noah felt the influence of playing golf with them to some extent and learning. It was stated that Noah Presgrove was interested in learning golf. I don't know how true that is, but these little influences, it could justify why you would take clubs down to a party, even though there's probably other things to do at the party and more so just to drink and hang out. Yeah, people can take random stuff. To be honest, you could say, why did people bring down bloody firearms to a party? I think that's more questionable, isn't it? Even though the firearms may not have been used on Noah, just a fact, you go into a party, get together, hang out, have fun. Oh, let me just put my 12-gauge shotgun down. Or let me just put my AR-15 thermal scope rifle down just for a second. You know, what is going on? Some kind of protest? Some kind of military club? Nope. Though the guns were explained as in they were used for a certain activity, which wasn't good to hear, but they were used as in shooting animals. There's a reason behind how they were used, even if it wasn't a good reason. Was that the original mindset, though, to bring firearms down in the first place, as in that's what we're going to use them for exactly? I think I could probably do a live stream part 2 about events which are deemed as suspicious or not, do a follow-up there. I think that's what I will get to. So yeah, we'll refer onto that. Ashley golf clubs believe it's the most important piece of evidence as well. When the clubs were discovered at the scrap heap and one club was bent, that was the moment it was clear the clubs played a big role. I do understand that, Ashley, as in a damaged club could have been used earlier on Noah, but out of the whole of Oklahoma and Terrell and onwards, right, there are probably going to be more people out there and other golf clubs and bags out there besides just one. It's not just one in existence. It's not just one set of mismatched clubs in the area. There are probably others out there. It's a coincidence more so. But I can understand how it can link together, or how you feel it can link together. But, you know, even if they were the golf clubs, even if they were, the damage to them or to one of them, the head, doesn't have to or doesn't directly mean it links to it being used on Noah, because if Caden had said that earlier on, like Sunday night, the clubs were used to smash items up, break hard objects, you're not supposed to use clubs for that, but if you do, it's probably going to cause damage to them. A dent, a scratch, a bend in the shaft, in the head. So that could have explained it and not the beatdown part. Right, Brenda. The golf clubs should be returned to Dalen. I have no idea where they are. I doubt the golf clubs that were in the Newton scrap pile were the same ones Dalen gave Noah to use. Fair enough. I think it is Brenda that has given an update since. I don't know if it's on this video comment section or the last one what I did, but it was a reference to Parts in True Crime, maybe the first episode, and so many minutes in, Dalen says he gave Noah the clubs, not borrowed, but gave them, handed them down, supposedly. I will have to look at that myself and do a separate video about that. Oh, here we go, Justin Roy. Let's see if it's just a standard comment. It's very alarming at all, the missing property of Noah. If he honestly just walked off, why would these things be missing? That makes no sense. Okay, so maybe Justin is on the same wavelength as me. Noah's mom has not gotten anything. She didn't get the shirt, the golf clubs, nothing. Wait. So, Justin, Noah's mom, Casey Smith, the one that supposedly passed it on to her ex, Dwayne, as in some items, not quite explained, but one of which was a tank top, which, how it was worded by Dwayne was from the party, specifically how it was worded. Are you saying, Justin, that Dwayne is lying? If Noah's mom has not gotten anything whatsoever, but Dwayne is saying that Noah's mom, Casey, had given him stuff to do with Noah, is it one big lie? Is it one big misunderstanding that none of Noah's possessions have been handed back, with the exception of the black shorts from the party? But what Dwayne did receive were items and possessions of Noah, but not what was taken or worn at the party, but just back at home and passed on down. Does that make sense? Anyway, his hat, tank top, wallet, one shoe, golf clubs, and a few other things not talked about are still missing. That in itself points to foul play, in my opinion. Oh, so Justin, you're saying that the American flag tank top is still missing. So why is Dwayne saying that he has it then? What's going on there? I want responses now in the live chat in the comment section. Why is Dwayne claiming that he has Noah's tank top? And it might have been Rebecca Gagliari that said, well, no, Dwayne doesn't have that. Oh, but, okay, maybe that's the case. But When you look at Dwayne's comment, he specifically words it as he does have it. It's what I mean, language and wording, when you look at it word for word specifically, tells a different side, and it's not good. Carl says, yes, very strange. Also, I do agree with you that it's all very suspicious. Gibby, it would be helpful if a picture could be posted of Dalen's bag and clubs. People may have information and not realise it. Yeah, fair point. Carl, well, like Raf, who is this person to the right of Noah Presgrove in the thumbnail? I've never seen this picture before. It's Dalen, the brother. Yeah. Julie, I think a lot more is going to be in discussion and brought out in the lawsuit. They may have some evidence or even a witness who came forward with some information. I guess time will tell. Thank you, Ref, for the video. Your work is always great covering this case. I appreciate it, Julie, and for watching my videos. That's all good. So hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button and share the video so more people get to see it, and leave your comments and thoughts down below because it does help too. And like with that live stream, what we did last night with what people were talking about, with what BBC was referring to, it's generated a few new video ideas to lock in on. And I can visualize it in my mind, what can be done. I did the video of this today though, because it's a bit more breaking news, because it's just recently come about. There's official new documents and papers. The focus on Val Patrol, who plays a big role within it because of, you know, the standing that they have, the presence as well, and maybe the further questions as in, okay, they supplied Jack that alcohol underage and now asked for ID. Have they done it any other times before that? Have they done it with the same people as well in the past? Have they done it since? I guess time will tell. And I think in regard to like other defendants like Jack Newton and Carter Combs, whilst they were supposed to be going on an around the world trip for ever how long, as it was mentioned months ago, supposedly it never happened, or that they've returned back to the US, wherever they're living at. So did that tie in line with the wrongful death lawsuit, or was it before that? It was just a coincidence timing. Who knows? But it's just adding on what's been talked about in the community. So with that being said, we'll leave it there for now. See what happens next. My name's Wallite Raff. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.